And we are back. Hello, everyone. You should be seeing me right now, I think. And yeah, you're seeing me right now. Welcome, everyone. So nice to see you. Welcome, Detective 360. Welcome, Retweet. Welcome, Shiba Krishna. Oh my god, it's so difficult to pronounce. Welcome back, Industrialist. So nice to see you. Uh, it has been a long time since I see you on one of my streams. So nice to see you, to have you back right here, Industrialist. How have you been? Like, how's everyone been? Like, how was your uh, Saturday? I don't know, like which hour is right now in India? Like, uh, because I know that this hour we have a lot of Indian folks. Um, oh my God, it's already Sunday, like 10:35. Oh my God, that's a lot. So yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome back again. Oh my gosh, Marie, welcome back. It's been like an eternity since I saw you. Yeah, my camera is already fixed. Oh my God, so nice to see you again, Marie. Like, how's Vermont? Like, is it still like super cold there? Like, uh, has like winter already finished on Vermont? Like, we were on April, something like that, and you had like a lot of snow, a lot of winter. It was like so crazy right there where you were at with all your photos. Like, oh my God, it was so crazy. Welcome back again. So nice to have you here. Programmer Soham, so nice to see you. Oh my God, US Eastern time. Oh, so it's like 1 a.m. like right there, right? So I'm on CT hours on CT time zone, I think, or 1 hour before CT time zone, because I know that you have daylight savings change hours, something like that. Um, but here we are on 11:07 p.m. So yeah, Shimmery says, it's Sunday 1 a.m. Yeah, so that's so cool. ET goes super crazy sometimes. It got hot this past week, 80. Oh my God, that's a lot. Typical we're heading into summer. Yeah, isn't like already summer? Like, we're already on June. Like, I think like summer is like right here. Like spring is already over since April for me, or I don't know if it still counts, but like the last days from May to June, like for me it's already summer. But yeah, like here in Mexico City, it has be, be think we were on hundreds, like hundreds, 108, 106, something like that. It got super crazy. Like, we were almost dying. Hell, we were like the only country in the world who was like that hot. I don't know why. I don't know if we were like in a solar beam or something like that. But yeah, it was a disaster. So welcome everyone back. It's so nice to have you, everyone. So let me just share my screen so we can begin with this. Where are you? Blah, blah. So yeah, if you were not on the last session of this Glow Hack Week, we were taking a look inside how we can create how we can create a voting app with Next.js. We were using the a previous workshop slides from the Go Highway data, but we were using them just for kind of have like introduction to what is React, also like which one are the main languages that React uses, some introduction to JavaScript. We'll learn how to use JavaScript from some replets, but because we don't have like a lot of time, we're going to be jumping into our application that we're going to be creating right now. We're going to learn all the basics from JSX, all the basics from React and things like that. Here's a repo. Let me just share the link with you right here so we can begin with this. And blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you should be seeing the link right now. Here it is. And what are we going to be doing? So we're going to create a voting system with Next.js, and the description of this project is that Doge, the charismatic candidate, is running for president and needs your help to beat his iconic rival Long Long Johnson to achieve this. Dutch requires a robust voting system to understand the opinions of the people in the country about him. And if you don't know the legendary Long Long Johnson candidate, he's like a really uh, legendary candidate on the US. So let me just show you a picture of Long Long Johnson. Oh Long Johnson is an iconic eminence right there. Here is Oh Long Johnson. He's like the rival, the number one rival enemy of the Doge candidate. So yeah, we need to beat Long Johnson. Oh Long Johnson is the rival of Doge, and we're going to be beating Oh Long Johnson. Oh Long Johnson has appeared in a lot of series, one of them being South Park. So if you want to learn more about Olong Johnson, you can just search Olong Johnson or Long Long Johnson on Google, so you can understand a little bit more about Olong Johnson. But yeah, pretty much Doge is running for president, and he's like one of the candidates for the presidents of the United States. So we need to help Doge so he can understand a little bit more about what hackers think about Doge as a candidate, and also what persons think about Doge as a candidate, right? So we're going to be using GitHub. If you have never used GitHub, please let me know so we can explain a little bit more about GitHub. But if you have, we're going to run into creating a new thing called Code Spaces. Code Spaces is just for now, we're not going to be touching Web3. We're not going to be touching chains. Uh, we're going to use smart contracts if we have enough time, because this is a voting system. Each one of the votes needs to have like its own credibility, so we can kind of make like a smart contract for, so each one of the votes is a unique vote, and we can identify that that vote is actually unique, that is not repeatable, or that it doesn't become comes from another data source that is not the one that we want. So that is why we are going to use a smart contract. We're not going to be touching Web3 in this session. If we have enough time, we're going to touch Web3 on the other one. This session, we're going to learn basics of JSX and React, and we're going to also be interesting ourselves to Next.js, so we can understand a little bit more about Next.js. But yeah, let's just continue with this, and let me just take out this comment. And yeah, so if you have never used GitHub Code Spaces, don't worry about it. You don't understand anything about it. The only thing that I want you to do is to go to the repo, click into this green button that says code. Probably you're going to see something that says local. Don't worry about it. Click inside the other menu that says code spaces, and click on this button that says create a code space on main, or a green button that is going to be right down on the bottom of the menu. So yeah, just click it, and when you're clicking that, probably you're going to see that something says setting up your code space or preparing your code space or something like that. And as you can see here, yeah, you can do it. Like you can touch anything locally, but we're using code spaces because we're using libraries, we're using dependencies, we're using versions from Node and from other libraries like npm and package managers and things like that. We're using code spaces because I don't want to be fighting with my operating system or problems with, for example, Mac or Windows or Linux or like things like that. So this is homogenized space that we can run together, and we're not going to have any kind of problems. So yeah, if you want to use code spaces, run code spaces. If you want to run locally, run it locally. But if you use a local machine or something like that, I won't be able to help you if you have some books or some dependency problems or things like that, because we have super different kind of machines. Like everyone uses a different machine with different requirements or different operating systems. So this is why we use code spaces. But yeah, um, Rick Wee says, I don't know, Ramando says, can you repeat the code spaces bit? Yeah, we can do it. Let me just open again GitHub so I can open my repo again. And let me open my repo right here. Okay, yeah, so this is the repo that we're using currently. And in this repo, how you can create a new code space is by going to this button, this green button that says code. Just click into it. Probably you're going to see this menu that says local, but you don't want that. You want code spaces. So click into the code spaces menu, or yeah, the code spaces menu, and you're going to see a green button right here on the bottom. So click inside that button, and when you click into that button, it's going to open a new tab that is going to be preparing your code space. And as you can see here, code spaces is no more than a code editor, or yeah, like a code editor like Visual Studio or something like that. It is actually Visual Studio but running on your browser. Yeah, I think you should be seeing. Yeah, you should be seeing right now. Quick question, code spaces. How do we shut them down when we're done? I always get an email that my code spaces are going to be deleted, then I have to delete them. Uh, so how do we stop code spaces after this session? Yeah, that is super simple. When you open a code space and you return into your repo page, like this one, if I refresh this, I'm going to see that on my code space menu, I see that on my current branch, I have a code space active, but we have a three dots bottom menu right here that if we click into it, we're going to have an option that says stop code space. So if you click inside the stop code space, your code space is going to be immediately stopped. And for example, if you have multiple code spaces, GitHub has its own section on GitHub. If you click in the left upper, yeah, like in upper left bottom menu, you're going to see that there's one section that says code spaces. And if you click inside code spaces, you're going to see all your code spaces. And the active ones are going to be flagged with a green color, um, with a green circle. But it's like the same thing. Like you just go to these three dots bottom menu and you click inside the stop code space option, and your code spaces should be stopped when you click on that. All right. So yeah, let's continue with this. Hi babe, so nice to see you back. Oh my god, I loved your photo. Are those like Monas? Like Mona stickers? Oh yeah, it's a wall of Mona. That is so cool. I really love your picture. Kudos for for having a photo with a Mona wall. Yeah, but yeah, let's just continue with this. Okay, so what are we seeing right now? What are we looking at? So we're looking at a Next.js project that you don't need to understand anything about it. What you need to do right now is just enter to this following link. I'm going to send you a link to Notion. And in this Notion page, you're going to see all the resources that we're going to be using for creating this app. I'm going to send it right here. You should be seeing it right now. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I think you should be seeing it right now. It says, yeah, it's here on the Twitch chat and also on the YouTube chat. Just click into it, copy and paste it, and it's going to be opening. Like the link is going to open a link to this Notion that is right here. And in this Notion, you have like different you have different contents of a lot of things. Like for example, you have documentation for the things that we're going to be using in the project. Also, you have some content for learning, like after this section or after this project that you're going to be using. If you want to continue with React, you're going to have resources so you can understand a little bit more about how to continue with your React journey, like how to use React, what are components, rendering, hooks, etc., etc. But yeah, also you have TypeScript roadmaps if you want to learn TypeScript. Last session we saw we learned a lot of JavaScript, but we didn't actually touch a lot of TypeScript. So yeah, if you want to touch something about TypeScript, don't worry about it. We're going to touch just the basics from TypeScript because we're not going to touch a lot right now of TypeScript. But yeah, pretty much it's like a superset of JavaScript, and we're going to be explaining in just a few minutes. But yeah, and also this Notion has a really really big kudos to Just Right Coding, which is a super YouTuber. Like I really love his content, and this workshop is super based on his video creating a body system with Next.js. He's an awesome person. Please follow him on YouTube. He creates awesome content. I love him. So yeah, let's just continue with this. Okay, so in your Notion, you're going to see that on Docs you have a page that follows you to the Next.js documentation. So here's the Next.js page. Just go to the docs page that is like right up here. And we're going to see that there are a lot of things right here. Just keep this open so you can jump into the stream. And also if you want to read the documentation if you want. But if not, don't worry about it. We're going to explain everything like right now. So yeah, pretty much uh, what we need to know right now is what are we looking at, right? So let me just zoom a little bit more into my code space. Let me know if this is enough zoom or if you need more zoom so it is a little bit more readable. But yeah, let's just continue with this. Okay, so what are we seeing right now? So we're seeing at a React project, like other frameworks or like other languages. Like if you come from a Java background, if you have created maybe a backend application, or if you come from a Python background and you have created artificial intelligence project or something like that, we have a lot of folders. We have always like a lot of files and things like that, and each one of those folders is used for something specific, right? Well, the same logic applies here with our Next.js project. The Next.js project has a lot of folders and a lot of files that we are going to be using for our project, and all these files takes care of something specific in our project. So the first one that we're going to take a look is to the app folder. The app folder is the one who takes care about everything related with Next.js and with our application code, right? So as you can see here, we have our app folder right here. And with this app folder, we have some content inside of it. One of them is our Fab icon, which is like the icon which appears when you open a new page. For example, if you open, I don't know, youtube.com, you're going to see that at the left side of your new tab, like the logo of YouTube is going to be open with the name YouTube on the right. If you open Instagram, the same thing is going to happen. It's going to say Instagram, and at the left of the text Instagram is going to appear like an icon that just shows Instagram, right? A little bit more soon. Okay, got you. Um, there you go. Okay, so yeah, the other thing that we are seeing right now on this folder is global CSS. Global CSS is just content that we're going to be using for our project. Actually, we're not going to be using any of that, so don't worry about it. The only thing that you should be taking care of is just deleting all the content of global CSS. Layout is some code that we're going to explain later, because for explaining it before, we need to understand how React works and how Next.js works. So we're going to take layouts later, right? The one that I want to explain right now is page.tsx. So first of all, let's just go here, and inside this return part, this return code block, just select everything that is inside of it and delete it. As you can see here, it's a lot of content. If you want to understand what is this or what is this doing, just run npm on your, well, open a new terminal and run npm run dep, this command, npm run dep. And after running it, you're going to see that you're going to have a new port that is going to be open. So we have, how do we open ports, or how do we open the new page that is in our new 3000 port. We go to the ports menu, and after that, we just click in the web icon, and that says open on your browser. So a new tab is going to be open and it's going to say connected to forwarded port. And while we wait, there you go. You're going to see that some content is right here. This looks like this because we have deleted all the CSS in our project. And if you are thinking about what is CSS, CSS is the thing that actually applies a style. So this actually looks kind of cool, not like super trashy, you know. So if we go back into our global CSS and we do Control C to just restore everything that we deleted, you're going to see that this actually looks pretty awesome, right? Like right now, it looks beautiful. So we have Next.js and get started by editing at that page, that .tsx. And we have some resources right here, like documentation, like learn, templates, deploy, and things like that, right? So yeah, it is npm run dev. So if you run that and if you restore the CSS, you're going to see your first page on Next.js. So you're going to see that Next.js is running right there. So before getting more deep into it, let's just remove all the content that we have in our page of page.tsx. So again, just go to the top and go to this return code block and just go to the end and remove all the content of the return block and leave it like just like this. So let's go from the start and from the basics. So if you remember and you throw back to the lessons that we learned yesterday, you're going to remember that we actually learned how to export functions, how to declare functions, how to return things, and how actually JavaScript works. So as we understood yesterday, a function always returns something, right? And inside of this, we're using something called JSX, or well, in this case, TSX, because we're actually using TypeScript. But for now, don't worry about it. The only thing that you need to understand is that JSX is a combination of being able to use HTML with JavaScript. And what I mean with that is that we can use actual HTML. Like for example, if I want to just create a div and that div says Doge, I don't know, like an H1, and that H1 says Doge, don't worry, we are gonna beat Long Johnson. If we do that and we return to our page, we're going to see that our page is a mess and looks like something is like super horrible. So let's just fix that by returning to our global CSS, and in this part that says root, just remove the part that says background star RGB and background and RGB, and the foreground a little bit like that. And yeah, if you remove those two ones, you're going to see that we have our actual HTML right here. Don't worry, we're going to be Long Johnson, right? And again, the only thing that we did right into our code spaces is opening the app folder, going into global CSS, and just removing the two variables that are inside root. One of them says background star RGB and background and RGB. These two variables are the ones who make like that cool effect of going from like a white to a more gray color, like fading in like from one color to another. But we don't want actually that. So yeah, pretty much we remove those two ones so we can see like everything like clean. And we're just, well, I'm just zooming a little bit more to the page because originally the page looks like this because we have not applied any styles to our page. All right. So yeah, let's just continue with this. Okay. So yeah, like I was saying, yesterday we understood that we can create functions on JavaScript, and the JavaScript always returns something inside those functions, right? So the same thing applies for TypeScript, and the same thing applies for JSX. JSX is a combination of being able to modify HTML and actually render HTML, or to being able to use the logics of JavaScript with the visibility of HTML. So in this case, we are actually declaring a function, and we're exporting this function because there is some other part in this application folder that actually uses this function called home. And well, you just need to understand that it runs the home function. So that is why we are exporting this. But yeah, pretty much we're just saying, hey, please, from this model called page.tsx, export always the function home. So that is why we're using the keyword default, and that is why we're using the keyword export to. So this function actually returns whatever we want to render on HTML, right? Here we're just declaring a div block with a header that says, Doge, don't worry, we're going to beat Olo Johnson. All right? So we can do a lot of things right here with inside of our code. Like before returning something, we can declare, for example, constants like I don't know, number of votes is equal to 0, maybe. Or we can have another variable like candidates, for example, and we can declare an array that says Doge and Olong Johnson, right? So we can actually use the variables that we declare on HTML. I'm sorry, on the block, on the code block that is before the return code block. So what I mean with that is that we can actually use our variables inside of our HTML and render the values of those variables, right? So if we want to render, for example, the number of votes, we can just open a bracket inside our h1 tag or inside any HTML tag and say number of votes. And this is going to actually return as a value, right? But this is just a value. This is just like 0. We want a little bit more of context, right? Like number of votes is equal to number of votes, right? And if we want to actually print out like each one of the candidates, we will need to create a unordered list. And inside of this unordered list, we want to actually use the candidates that map. And for each candidate, we want to return something. Remember that we have something called arrow functions that implicitly return something without the necessity of using the brackets that we use for some other functions. Well, the same thing applies here. Because we want to return something, we can just say like, hey, please return a list item with the name of the candidate, right? So if we do that, we're actually iterating over our candidates array. And for each candidate, we are going to return an HTML element that HTML element is going to have inside, is going to be a list item. And that list item is going to have the value of candidates. And candidates, I'm sorry, candidate, you should be candidate. For each candidate, render a new list item with the value of the name of the candidate, right? So in the first iteration is going to be on the Doge value. So it is going to return a list item with the Doge value. And on the second iteration is going to be Olong Johnson. So we're going to just return a list item with the value of Olong Johnson, right? So if we go back to our page, we're going to see that we have number of votes with the variable that we have created, and also we have rendered each one of the names of our candidates. If we created if we add another candidate to our candidate list, we will, for example, replicate. As you can see here, it is automatically rendering the new name of the candidate without the necessity of writing more HTML. So this is good because JSX allows us to do a lot of cool stuff with HTML and managing the logistics of rendering content from our browsers, right, or for our pages. So we can create awesome things with React and also with JavaScript and the combination of using JSX. So pretty much, if you have any doubts or any questions until now, please let me know so we can like solve your questions that you have. But yeah, let's just continue by going right here, and we have a lot of stuff that we need to do right now, right? So until now, we have just understood what JSX is. So first mark is already done. So okay, we now understand what is JSX. Now, what do we need to do? We need to also understand more stuff like understanding that React, as we learned on the first part, on the first section, I'm sorry, on the first stream, is a component-based framework, library, sorry. Next.js also is super based on React, so Next.js also uses components. And if you're thinking about what is a component is just basically the way that JSX uses a function, so it is easier and it is more cleaner and more readable to return some HTML inside that function, right? So I think it will be a little bit more understandable if we create a new function like const card, maybe. And this is going to receive the name of the candidate and the number of votes. And this card is going to return, oh, sorry. This is going to return a div. And inside that div, we're going to have like the name of the candidate and the number of votes, and maybe an image with a source, right? So let me just go here to Google and, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, this is my bad. I was just Googling what Shahi Paneer was, but yeah. Let's just go Google and search for Doge president. And this one looks good for me, so I'm going to just download this photo, this picture. Which one? Olong Johnson. This one. And Grumpcat. This one looks like super candidate. Oh, but this is a web picture. Which one? Maybe this one? Yeah, this is a JPEG. Okay, so let me just go here into my code space. And okay, I have downloaded some pictures, but now the question is, where do I insert these pictures in my projects, right? So for all the assets like pictures, music, videos, or things like that you want to insert in your project, we have a specific folder for doing that. That one is called public. And if you open the public folder, you're going to see that we have the logo of Next.js and also the logo of Vercel that you can see if we just run the page when you start the project. But yeah, if you want to just create like insert new pictures, you can just insert those pictures right here on public, and Next.js is going to understand that all the pictures that you want to use inside your project are going to be inside the public folder. So yeah, pretty much, let's imagine that we want to create a card component that is going to show us a card with the information of all the candidates that we are having for our elections, right? And this function is going to receive three parameters, or yeah, it's going to receive three parameters: the image, the candidate name and the number of votes for the candidate, right? So for doing that, what we want to do is just create a new constant with a num that says candidates info, and this is going to be an array of objects. Each object is going to have an image, a candidate name, and the number of votes for each one of the candidates, right? So here we have the image of O. Long Johnson. Let's just change this to O. Long Johnson. This one is from Grumpy Cat, so let's say Grumpy Cat. And this one is Doge. Okay, so let's just return here and change this to Doge.jpg. Candidate name is going to be Doge. The number of votes is going to be 0. Then we have O. Long Johnson. Then the candidate name is O. Long Johnson. And finally, we have Grumpy Cat, and the candidate name is going to be Grumpy Cat. Okay, so we're going to apply the same thing for each one of the candidates that we have inside of our candidates info array. We're going to render the card component that we want. So for doing that, we actually want to open a new bracket so we can insert JavaScript code inside of our HTML section. So we're going to say candidates info that map, and for each candidate info, then return a new card with the candidate info, right? Oopsie, no, we don't want this. Yeah, instead of doing that, we have 3 props, right? It is image, candidate name, and number of votes, right? So we have image, candidate name, number of votes. Oh yeah, they have. Oh yeah, so don't worry about it. They have like the same name. So I think we should be able to just pass it with the object of candidate info and without any problem. So give me just 1 second so I can fix this. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so yeah, pretty much for each candidate that we have inside of our candidates info array, we're going to render a new card component with the candidate info information, right? So if we go back to our card component, we're going to be seeing the first flag issue that we're seeing right now. And if you're asking yourself what is going on, why do we have a lot of errors? Remember that on the past stream, we were talking about JS docs, and one of the main problems of JavaScript, that is we don't actually understand what are we receiving and what are we returning and things like that. We don't know like which types that we're going to be expecting for each one of the types that we're going to be receiving in our function. So for example, here we're receiving 3 arguments, but we don't know if an image is an actual image or if it is just like the string of the URL of the image. Candidate name, we don't know if it is like an encoded name or if it is a string or something like that. And number of votes, we don't know like if it is like a float, if it is an integer, something like that. This is why TypeScript takes care of that. TypeScript is like super jealous of not understanding like the gossip. And what I mean with that is like TypeScript is always that person who wants to know everything about everything, you know? So for fixing that, TypeScript allows us to actually indicate the data types of each one of the variables that we are going to be using, right? So image inside of the variable of image is actually a string. Inside of our object, candidate name is actually a string too. And number of votes is a string too, is a number, right? So what are we doing here? We're just declaring the we're just declaring the arguments that we're going to receive in our function. We're opening a new object right here, and this object is just going to store the data types of each one of the variables that we're going to be using inside of our function, right? So for example, we're saying here, hey, the variable image has an actual data type of a string. The candidate name is actually a string also, and number of votes is a number. So the thing that limits the data type with the name of the variable is like this semicolon. So this semicolon is the one who actually says uh, the data type of the variable that we're going to be using. So yeah, JSX is JSX is JavaScript XML, which is a combination of JS and HTML code. Basically, JSX is that kind of data or the is the kind of pattern that React uses for handling JavaScript, for handling HTML with JavaScript, right? So if you want to understand a little bit more about JSX, React has a really cool content about JSX. Let me just change that right here, JSX. There we go. Here we are, writing markup with JSX. JSX is a syntax extension for JavaScript that lets you write HTML like markup inside JavaScript file. Also, there are other ways to write components. Most React developers prefers to consist JSX. And pretty much we're seeing here, like for example, the two main difference. I mean the two elements of JSX. The first one is like HTML on the left, JavaScript on the right. JavaScript handling like logic, HTML just handling like the visibility of our elements, like the markup and all the thing for our content. So what JSX does is actually combining both of them or generating a new way so we can actually use JavaScript with HTML so we can handle logistics and also we can handle like the markup of our page with the help of JavaScript, right? So if you want to keep reading a lot of this or deeping dive into JSX, please take a look inside this link if you want. But yeah, we're just going to continue with this. Where was I? Oh yeah, we were explaining a little bit more about TypeScript. Like the difference with JavaScript is that TypeScript actually wants to understand what are you using as a data type, right? For each one of your variables, you can just say, hey, I'm going to use a variable called image. I'm going to use a variable called candidate name. I'm going to use a variable called number of votes. Um, TypeScript also wants to understand the data type that you're going to be using for each one of those variables, right? Like, hey, cool, you want to use image, but what is the type of image? Like, are we expecting a number? Are we expecting an actual image, or what are we expecting? Give me just 1 minute, and I'll be back. I'm so sorry. We have a really gossip guest right here. Oh, oh. So sorry for that. He was sorry. He was going crazy. If you don't know him, his name is Robin. I think you should be seeing it if I just move a little bit of the can. Uh, oh, there you are. Robin is a beagle, like Snoopy. He was super crazy. He was like barking of like all the persons who came by. So I need to calm him down a little bit. So yeah, this is Robin. So sorry for that. Let's just continue with this. Because now we're also yeah, Robin actually wants the Doge candidate to win. So yeah, let's just continue with this. Alrighty, so yeah, like just for ending this part, TypeScript actually wants you to you to understand to say to him like or to explain to TypeScript that hey, we're going to be using these variables and each one of these variables is going to have this data type. And remember, the data types in JavaScript are not that specific. We just have strings, numbers, booleans, objects, um, nulls, undefined, and symbols, I think it's called. But yeah, pretty much we're going to receive in our function, we're going to have a function called card, which is going to receive three arguments: image, candidate name, number of votes. And image is going to be a string, candidate name is going to be a string, also number of votes is going to be a number. And we're going to return all this HTML inside of it. But we want to actually use the variables that we have received as an argument so we can display them right here, right? So we're actually going to use candidate name right here with the alt of candidate name. We want also to use candidate name, and for number of votes we want to use number of votes. And yeah, pretty much that should be it. And if we go back here, let me just use a little bit of Tailwind. I'll be explaining that just later. Give me just 1 second. It's just so you can understand which one is like the card component, right? So we want to use padding 4. We want to have a background white, and we want also to have border 1. We also want to have shadow, I think. How's it called? I forget totally. Tailwind, book shadow, uh, shadow color, shadow is like 50. Let me just copy paste this. And let's just have a little bit of more information, like making this inside of a div. And I'll be explaining this like super quick. Just give me a minute so I can build this out so I can explain it to you like super quick. And pretty much we're going to add a flex route, and we want this to be item center and justify. Yeah, I'm sorry if I look like a wizard who's doing like a lot of things like that we cannot understand. Give me just 1 minute so I can finish this up. Like class name, no, class name, flex column, and gap of 3 maybe, and class name, text blue 100 maybe, and font bold, and text XL. Yeah, pretty much. And last name, text Ray 300 maybe. Okay, let me see what is this showing up. Oh my God, it's not showing anything. Why is not? I think we're not passing the arguments correctly. Extract attributes from the server. Oh no, actually oh yeah, we're seeing the cards. Cool. The problem is that we're not declaring correctly our images, our image paths. So we want to use instead image right here. And image should have this is large like this. And okay. Oh, and also we need to add some style to this. So the class name max width should be of maybe 12. No, this is too little. 44, 48. Yeah, there you go. And also we want a background color of Slade 100 maybe. Oh no. Give me 1 minute. I'll almost finish with this. With 400 pixels maybe. Okay, there you go. It is not that visible, but yeah, you're going to be seeing. I think you should be seeing like our candidates that we have right here, right? Okay, so what did we did and why it looks like what did I look like a wizard who was doing a lot of stuff? We were using CSS in a way that is called Tailwind. Tailwind is a way to kind of simplify the CSS code that we're writing for creating components or for make styling our HTML. So Tailwind is I really like Tailwind. If you want, you can use CSS or whatever you want. I'll be using Tailwind, and if you want to learn Tailwind, or what I do always is like, for example, just first search or think like, for example, how can I change the background color of a div maybe? Then I Google how to change background color in div maybe. So we will see that we have like, for example, page. So we have HTML background color, and we'll see that the class of CSS that we use for indicating CSS that, hey, please, I want to change my background color of this div. So how can I do this? You're going to find on the internet that CSS has a rule called background color that accepts like RGBs, accepts pre-styled colors, and accepts our hex values. So you can use any of those for doing that. And if you want to write those on Tailwind, you should be able to just go to tailwind.css page. If you just search for Tailwind CSS, and now that you know that background color is the name of the rule that allows you to change the background color of a div or a box or whatever you want, you can search for background color right here, background color, and you're going to find that we have background color, and background color is written by just saying bg slash slate and 50 or whatever color you want to use. Like, you are going to see that we have a lot of colors right here. Tailwind is just like a CSS library that we use for facilitating a little bit our lives and making our components a little bit more cleaner, I want to say, but that is not like always a rule. So yeah, I don't want to say that that is an always. So cool. Let's just continue with this, and we're almost on our hour of stream. So what do you think if we give us 5 minutes and we continue in 5 minutes? So if you want, go to have a cup of coffee, go grab a glass of water, whatever you want, and I'll see you in 1 hour. Okay? In a 1 hour, in 5 minutes. I'm so sorry. So yeah, we'll be back in 5 minutes. And we are back. And you should be seeing right now. Yep, maybe. Oh my god, my camera is a little bit blurry. What about that? Think, is it maybe the music and the banners? I don't think so really, but let's see, let's see. Well, kind of fixed, not that much difference. But yeah, let's just continue with that. So okay, let me know when you are back while I watch Robin fighting with a pillow. I don't know why he is always so energetic on nights. He's like a cat, like he has like a cat energy always. Like he sleeps all day, and in the nights he wants to be out. He wants to run. He wants to do a lot of bad stuff. Like now, please don't do that. So yeah, if you have a beagle, if you have a dog, and your dogs have like a cat energy, yeah, it is like the worst thing that you can have. But yeah, let's just continue with that. We were taking a look to Tailwind. So pretty much Tailwind is like how we slice our components and our um, HTML elements for each thing. So what we did actually right here on our cards was just saying for each card, add the following styling. We add some weird words saying P4, which is like create some space between the the box um, and the content that it's inside of that box. Change the color of the background, add a border, add also a borderline, and also create a shadow effect. Um, Make the display of this element as flex, and make that everything that is going to be inside of this box is orientated or horizontally, and center the items on the center vertically, and center the items of the box horizontally also. And the width size of this box is going to be 400 pixels. So also we'd say here the max width that can have our deep box of the image is going to be of 48, which 48 is actually something around 100 and something pixels. And we do like some weird stuff right here, but you don't need to understand any of this. I'm going to push the changes um, to the repo so you can pull them. So add images and some and the card component. So we just push those changes right here, and you should be able to push them to pull them right now, I think. So blah, 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 blah. Give me just one little minute so I can show you something real quick. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah. So as you can see here, we were doing kind of like a card image. Actually, we want this to be justify between, and we want to have a border with right. So we want border with. It's going to be border 2 actually. We're going to change this to border 2, and we're also going to change this to be white, rigid white, and shadow gray 100. Mm, let me just search if there are box shadow shadow that we have right here. Maybe we have. Oh yeah, we want Shadow OG, right? Shadow OG and some other stuff. So don't worry about it, ignore it. It's just like styling for our components so we can have a better card like this one, like with shadows and all the stuff, you know. So yeah, pretty much we created cards with the information that we have from our candidates. We have Udoch, we have Olong Johnson, we have Grumpy Cat, and all of these candidates that we're going to be um, using. Batus Organic, who says, yeah, well, actually, you can pull them out or you can just code with me or code custom. Like you can do whatever you want. But yeah, pretty much do whatever you want. Detective says, can you show us how to pull? Yeah, I can. Give me just 1 minute. And Badu Organic Oil says, just curious, does anyone here have Angular plus TypeScript experience? Yes, I have. If you have some questions, just send me your questions on LinkedIn. If you don't know my LinkedIn, let me just show you my URL so you can connect with me. Here it is. And also, you can search the content um, of this Global Hack Week and this session and previous sessions and previous Global Hack Weeks on my GitHub. So if you want to take a look inside all the repos that we have on GitHub, please just take a look inside my repos. Uh, all the ones who have the GHW Global Hack Week are the ones that we're using in this Global Hack Week. And if you have any questions about, I don't know, the fellowship of MLH or how to get into the fellowship, if you have Angular questions or questions about the session that we had maybe yesterday or the sessions that we're going to be having, please send me a message on LinkedIn so I can help you with whatever you want. And yeah, pretty much that's it. If you want to connect, please connect. And if you don't want, don't connect. But yeah, let's just continue with this. Where we at? So yeah, we were just explaining how to stylize all the stuff that we were seeing right here, right? So as we can see here, if we go to the terminal, we are going to see like a random error that says, warning, each cell in a list should have a unique key prop. Why is that? Because React renders all the elements that we're using right here on the DOM. The DOM is something that you don't need to understand right now, but let's imagine that the DOM is how your browser understands how your code is actually building your page and how it is modifying the content of your page. So just understand that the DOM is something that your browser uses for understanding the content of your page that you're building. That's all. So for doing that, when we are trying to iterate and render something like dynamically by iterating over an array, each one of the children's that we are rendering of that array should have something called key. And that key should be another stuff like maybe a name, maybe a unique number, something like that, right? So for that, we also can use another variable right here called index. And that index is going to be the value of the position of the array that we're iterating. So for example, the first element here, Doge, is going to be the index 0. The index the index 1 is going to be Olong Johnson, and the index 2 is going to be Grumpy Cat. So we can say something like index, and that is going to be a unique key. So we're not going to have any more problems right now, and we're going to say we're going to see that we have to get 200, that everything is going good and smoothly, right? So if we go back into our page, we're going to see that everything is like super smooth, everything is super good. And before continuing, let me just push again the card changes to the repo, and let me show you how you can pull those changes to your actual repo. So if you go to the terminal, you're going to see that you're going to have a button right here, like at the right of npm, that is going to say create a new terminal. If you click inside of it, you're going to have a new terminal, so you don't need to stop the Next.js application. So if you do something like git status, you're going to see that it says maybe on branch with main. If you fork the repo, and if you fork the repo and you make your own repository, something like that, you can see that maybe that branch is not up to date with origin main. It's going to say something like that. So if you want to pull the changes, you want to just do git pull origin main with those spaces, so we can pull the changes from the actual branch. So we do that, we're going to see that we're going to fetch all the changes from the actual branch that is on our so yeah, so you can pull all the changes that we are updating to our repo. Alrighty, so yeah, it will override our changes, but it depends a lot. Before overriding is going to pull your changes, and if you have something different, like maybe instead of using a Doge, you're using another cat or something like that, it is going to just override the ones who is new in your repo. And what I mean with new is, for example, if we are, I'm sorry, I think I trip a lot. I was tripping, sorry. Yeah, so it is going to override. It is not going to override. Before overriding something, it is going to ask you, hey, do you want to make these changes? And if it finds something called conflicts, it is going to start resolve conflict status or resolve conflict state. What I mean with this, let's imagine that on my repo, I have Doge. Don't worry, we're going to beat Olong Johnson, but maybe one of the hackers is a Olong Johnson person. So maybe it says Olong Johnson, don't worry, we are gonna beat Doge. So as you can see here, both of them are super different, right? One of them from is for supporting Doge, and the other one for supporting Olong Johnson. So as you can see here, both of them are like super different in the way of who do they support and things like that. So the thing that is going to happen is that GitHub is going to start resolve conflict state. That state is going to ask you which one of the changes do you want to actually use. Do you want the one that says Olong Johnson, don't worry, we're going to beat Doge, or do you want the one that says Doge, don't worry, we're going to beat Olong Johnson? So yeah, pretty much it's just that. And if you want to learn a little bit more about that, just type git pull on Google, and you're going to see like all the information about git pull. Okay, so let's just continue with this. And yeah, we were seeing like our components that we were using, and as you can see here, we're using a function that actually takes care of just reading some arguments. And with those arguments, we are actually passing some information to this. We are returning a div that div has some content inside of it, right? It has some more divs or more boxes that has content inside of it, right? So, but at the end, we're just returning one div. What happened, or what would happen if we want to return another div, right? Like this, our code is going to start tripping a lot. And this is because we can just return one div in each one of our functions, right? We should return just one thing, not a lot of things, right? And this happens because that is how JSX works for the DOM. So yeah, don't worry about it. The only thing that you need to take care of always is just returning always just one div, right? But as you can see here, we're returning a div, and this function that we're declaring right here is what we call a component. It is a reusable part of code, or bunch of code, or block code that we can use whatever we want, however we want. It is maintainable, and we can still use it in other models, not just in this one. If we use the export keyword, it is going to be able to, we're going to be able to import this card component in other models, not just in page.tsx, right? But yeah, pretty much if we declare, for example, a new folder that says components, and if we create a new folder for cards, and if we create a new index.tsx for our cards, and we um, copy and paste this function, let's just remove this card from here and let's just move it right here. Let's say export, oh, I'm sorry, export default card. Let's just format this code so it is not that ugly. And if we try to see, if we try to use card right now, our code is going to start tripping because we don't know what card is or what are you mean with card. So that is why we can import. Now that we have used the word export, default, and the name of the card component, we can export now cards from the cards component, right? Let me just change this name to card, right? So if we go here and say import card from components.card, oops, sorry. If we try to import the card component from the model that is inside the component folder and it's inside also on the cards folder, we're going to be able to use cards without any problem. And I think you are not seeing the page. Yeah, so sorry for that. That always happens. Oh my God. Yeah, so sorry for that. I think I missed a lot, right? Okay, so what just happened is we only uh, we only declared a new folder. We started a new folder called components. Inside of that folder, we created another folder called card. And inside that folder, we created a new file called index.tsx. It is called tsx because usually React components or React component files are initiated with JSX, but in this case, because we're using TypeScript, it is initialized with TSX, right? But yeah, pretty much we copy and pasted the card component that we had on our page.tsx, and we exported it with the keywords export default and the name of the function that we declared right here, right? The card function, right? And this is the way how we export functions from a component, from a model to another. And now that if we want to try to use card without this being declared, for example, like this, if we comment this, our code is going to start tripping because card doesn't exist or we don't know what actually card mean, right? So that is why we need to import the card component from the model that is inside components folder and inside the card folder, right? So we're going to import the card function, and if we hover our card word and we press the control key, we're going to see all the information of the function or component being displayed. It says const card receives an image, a candidate name, a number of votes, and it returns a JSX element. And we can use it by just saying import card, right? And if we want to see what is the code, the content of card, we can just scroll down and we're going to see all the content of the code of card, right? So yeah, pretty much. Um, so what will happen if Airwag says, so what if you push and then after we make a pull, so our code will be overwritten? I think we have covered already this. If you want to understand a little more about this, let me just send you a book. Um, how's it called? Is it called? It is conflicts resolve conflicts. There you go. But give me just 1 minute. There you go. Let me just pass you this link that actually explains a little bit more of how a polling and overriding thing works. You can take a little bit of reading right here if you want to understand a little bit more. So we can continue with this. So yeah, pretty much that is how components work on React. And until now, we have learned what is JSX, what are components, how we can combine using JavaScript or in this case TypeScript with with HTML and how we actually can use the power of TypeScript with combination of using HTML and how we can create components inside JavaScript, right? I think that I did not explain is how can we differentiate an actual HTML element with a component, right? So usually HTML elements do HTML elements open and also close themselves, right? Like deep like this, right? But we always have predefined HTML tags, right? Like H1, like P, like image, like section, and things like that. And they're always on lowercase. A rule that always happens on these components is that the first letter is going to be capitalized, like in this case, like card, or if we have another a larger name, like for example, card for images for candidates, maybe this is the name of our component, and we pass all this info. If we do this, this is called Pascal case. Pascal case. Where are you, Pascal case? Come on, case. React. It is just a convention that we use for components. No, it is not actual camel case. I think it is Pascal case, like this one. Um, like this. This is camel case. The first one is always on a lowercase, and the next word is on is capitalized, but it doesn't have the spaces or something like that. And Pascal case is always capitalized, like each one of the words. The snake case uses how's this called? I totally forgot about how's this called. Underscore, yeah, sorry for that. We use underscores for snake case, and we use scores for kebab's case, right? But yeah, pretty much it is just a convention that we use on React for naming our components, and that is how you can differentiate one component for another. And the other one that you can use for differentiate is that if a component doesn't have a child to render, and what I mean with child is, for example, this li tag has a child that is the value of candidate, right? That is what we call a child. But for example, if the component is not asking you for putting a child like inside that component, it's going to have this this form, right? Like this is just going to be the name of the component in Pascal case, and it's going to end with a inverted slash and with the greater than. Okay, so yeah, pretty much we do that. That is why that is how you can differentiate a little bit easier, right? So okay, so move on. We have learned the basic things about JSX, but we had not learned how we actually handle things like, for example, values, cases, and things like that. Oh, yeah, thanks so much about organic oil. Okay, so continuing with the content. Um, let's just understand something like, for example, how to handle values, how to handle the states, events, and things like that on React. That is something that we need to learn before doing something. And on React, we have some specific things called hooks. Hooks are pre-built functions that React uses or has already built, so we can use them like easily, and we can reutilize them wherever we want in whatever model. So one of the most popular hooks that React has is called use state. Import use state from React, right? So this use state is something that we use for keeping track of a value that we want to actually keep observing, like an observer on Minecraft. Have you ever played Minecraft? Like there's this thing on Minecraft called observer that it actually looks at something or keeps track of a pulse or a value, like on circuits. If you have ever used circuits on physics, it basically takes care of observing that the value has not changed, and when it changed, triggers something. In this case, this observer like this checks like at the block at the low, maybe on the front, on the top, or on the back, depending where it's facing. And if the value of that block changes, maybe it disappears or it moves or something like that. Like in this case, we have like a sugar cane. So the observer is going to activate this piston whenever the value of this block that is right up here at the level of the observer changes. So the sugar cane is going to be increasing on its height. So when it reaches the height of the observer, it's actually going to trigger this piston. So the piston can just activate itself, and it can just punch the sugar canes, and the sugar canes drop themselves. This is the weirdest way that I've explained how state works on React. Okay, so state works like the same, like with the same concept or the same definition. So and also let me know if this is like the correct definition for explaining how observer works. But yeah, pretty much it is the same concept. React uses like the same concept for observing a value. It observes a value, and when that value changes, it's going to store the value that it actually changed, and it handles to us functions so we can update that value. And I think I'm going to be explaining that later. I'm going to be explaining a little bit better if I write some code. So let's assume that we are going to have a number of votes button, maybe like Hans, um, I don't know, Doge votes, comma, set Doge votes. And we're going to use an state that is going to be a number, and it's going to start as 0, right? So, all right, so what is going on here? The only thing that we're saying is, hey, React, please, I want to track in some way the value of the Doge votes. I want to keep track of the value of Doge votes, and I want to observe if those votes change their value in some way. And if they change, please allow me to update the value of my state that is going to keep track of the values of the Doge votes, right? So as you can see here, we have an array with two arguments or with two elements. The first one is the variable that stores the values that we want to store. And the second one is a function that allows us to update the value that is going to be stored in this state, in the Doge vote state. And after declaring our array, we want to say that this is going to be equal to a use state hook that is going to be a number, and well, a number state, and it's going to start with the value 0. All right. So in another example, if we want to keep track of something else, of another kind of state, maybe const is open, maybe. Let's assume that we have a menu, set is open. If we want to keep track of maybe if the user has clicked in a button that opens a menu or something like that, we want to keep track of something like is open, like a state called is open or has clicked or things like that. So we can understand when our user has clicked into a button or into a menu or something like that. So we can change like, hey, it actually changed, like the user has clicked inside of it. So please update the value of is open to true. So we can do something with that, right? And if we want to do something like a selected candidate, maybe we want to store like the name of the candidate that the person actually voted. So if we want to do that, let's just create a state that can actually store the name of the selected candidate. And if the person selects another candidate that is no Doge, we want to update the selected candidate, the stored value, right? So in this case, it's going to be in a string state, and it's going to start as an empty string. All right. So this is how we actually handle storing values with our states, right? So pretty much for now, we're just going to keep things super slow and super simple with Doge votes. So with Doge votes, we want to create a button that actually updates those votes. So if we want to do that, we want to actually have a button called, well, a function called handle vote that actually can update the value of Doge votes and add 1 to that. And pretty much that's it. So what are we going to do? If we want to have that, let's assume that we're going to have a button right here. Where are you? Where are you? There you go. Let's assume that we're going to have a button, and whenever I click on it, I'm going to call to the handle vote function, right? And this button is just going to say vote for Doge. And let's add some style to this button, like class. No, this is one. Class name is going to be padding of 4. And also this is going to be yeah, like this. This looks like pretty enough. Okay. So yeah, pretty much what we did right now is just, okay, we have a state that stores the number of votes for Doge, and also we have a function that handles the value for updating the stored value of Doge votes. And for each time that I click on the button that says vote for Doge, I'm going to call to handle vote function, and this handle vote function is going to update the value of the stored value inside Doge votes for whatever the value of Doge votes is plus 1, right? So if we go back inside of our page, we're going to say that we have an error that says you're importing a component that needs to use state. It only works with a client component. This is one of the Next.js essentials that we need to understand. And Next.js is a framework that actually has two, well, in this case, I think it already has three kind of components that we can use in our framework. In this case, client components are those ones who actually need something for tracking information from the client. Like, for example, managing whenever a client has clicked into something, or maybe managing data that needs to be used or processed in some way whenever the user does something. So in this case, we call this function, these components, client components. And for declaring that a model is going to be a client component, we actually use the keyword use client. And with this use client keyword, if we go back here into our page, you're going to see that we're going to be able to see our page working, right? So I'm sorry, I think you should be seeing right now. Yeah, you're seeing it, right? Yeah, you're seeing it. Okay, cool. So if we go back here inside of our code, let me just add something real quick and over BG 600. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, if we go here and say vote for Doge, we're going to see that nothing happens, right? And that is correct because we are actually not using the value of the number of votes for Doge right here, right? On Doge. So what are we going to do? We want to actually pass this store value to our Doge candidate, right? So how we are going to do that is we need to refactor our code. Until now, we are using, we're iterating over our candidate info, and we're passing the index so we can add a unique key. And we're passing the information for the candidate info to the card component. But we should actually also receive the value of handle vote, right? So we can set the value of Doge. So what do we need to do? So sorry, we need to either way refactor our code or maybe change the UI that we want to render, right? In this case, maybe for now, let's instead of refactoring, just show an H1 that has maybe some styling for being a little bit bigger, like text 6, like 3XL and font bold, and number of votes for Doge is going to be equal to Doge votes. And let's go back right here. Oh yeah, you didn't see the code again. I'm so sorry. Yeah, what we did was just changing the styling of our class name of this H1. It said number of votes, and the value of number of votes that was this constant that we have right here. So we're not going to be using that right now. So we're going to delete it. So what I care is to show you how Doge votes change whenever I click on that button. So we actually just use the use client keyword right here. So we can actually say to Next.js that this is going to be a client component that is going to use to have interactions with the client side. Like for example, the button interaction, whenever I click, a value is going to be changed, right? So if we want to have interaction with our clients or with the client side, we're going to call this kind of components client components. But if we want to render just information from the server, for example, fetching information from a Pokemon API or fetching information from our database or something like that, we're going to call those components server-side components because we're not interacting with the actual client side. We're just rendering information that is coming from the server. Okay, so now that we understand that, let me just go again right here. And the only thing that we did was creating a button that whenever I click on vote for Doge, is going to update the update and add one to the value of the stored data that is inside Doge bots. In this case, it is just a number, right? So yeah, let's just continue with this. If I go right here and share tab, I'm going to see number of votes for Doge 15. And if I click inside this button, I'm going to see that my button is going to be updated whenever I click on it, right? So this is cool. This is cool because we are now able to um, we're now able to store information from Doge, right? And if I click again, we're going to be updating information from it. And as you can see here, the state actually gets updated whenever I click on this button because of the handle click button, right? Or function, handle bot function, sorry, that we declared right here. So let me again push my changes so you can pull them out. And let me close this. And let's say this is add button. Confirm, synchronize changes, accept, and give me just 1 minute so I can see something out. Cool. So, okay, we already understood how to use the states. We already understood how to use objects, how to use JSX, how to use buttons, how to interact with our client. So what do you think if we now interact with some other stuff that we're going to be using for this tutorial? The first one is that is finishing, like to understand the code structure of our folder that we have right here. So just making a quick recap, our app component is going to be, our app folder is going to be the one who's going to take, is going to be the one in charge of handling everything that we're going to be using in our page, like layouts, like pages, like CSS, components, everything that we're going to be using for the front end of our app is going to be inside the app folder. Also, you can use you can put backend things right here, but don't worry about it. We're not going to touch it in this case. Node models are the files that we actually use from our package manager, but we don't want them. This is like the pip memory that we use on Python, like pip, the package manager for Python. All the files that actually get downloaded from pip, those files that you don't want to be on your repo, that is the same concept. Public is the one for handling assets on your project. Slint is a linter that actually takes care of link rules or to take care about syntaxes and things like that. We're not going to touch them out. Gitignore is the one who is actually in charge of ignoring all the dependencies that we don't actually want in our repo. License is just the license. Next environment is environment references that we're going to be using in our project. We're not going to touch them actually. Next config is configuration that we use for our next project. We're not going to touch it again. Package lock JSON is like the requirements.txt that we use on Python for downloading in an easy way all the information that we're going to be using. And also in package.json, we have some information that we actually want to understand. The first one is the name of our package. In this case, it's going to be Doge. The version of our package, if our package is private or if it is public. Also, we have one important part called scripts. Scripts is what we actually can run whenever we do npm and, for example, run dep or run build or run the start or run lint. If we do npm run dep, we're actually going to call to this line. So it is basically like running a specific line command whenever we write a specific word. So for example, if I want to pull my changes from my origin main from Git, I'm going to say just git pull. And I'm going to say that, hey, whenever I write npm run git pull, it is actually going to run all this stuff like git pull origin main, right? So I will be able to run all this command with just this shortcut called git pull. So that is going to help me a lot with my life, right? And also we have the dependencies part. Dependencies are just the libraries that we're using and inside of our project. And web dependencies are again libraries or things that we're using in our project like Tailwind, like PostCSS, types, TypeScript, and things like that, right? So yeah, use client is the way that we say to Next.js that the model that we're using or the file that we are using is going to be a client side component, or if we are using server side component, we use the word we don't use client. So Next.js can understand that, that component is actually a server-side component. Again, on the Notion, you have all the documentation that you should be taking care of if you want to keep reading. We're going to take care more deep dive into Next.js on the next session so we can understand a little bit more of it. So yeah, pretty much let's just continue with this because we are almost out of time. We have just 4 minutes left. Post CSS is something that you don't need to take care, but it's just CSS stuff that we're going to be touching. But we're not going to touch this file in this session or in the future. The README is just the README. Tailwind configuration is all the configuration stuff that we use for Tailwind. We sometimes use it for example, making our own themes, like our own color palettes and things like that, like for handling our own specific stylings, like having our custom box shadow for Tailwind without having to write a full code of CSS and things like that. So pretty much is that. And tsconfig is like configuration from TypeScript that we use for the project, right? So that is the folder structure that we're going to be using in this project. And this is how the folder or all the project and all the files work with each other to just give some words for beginners to Next.js. Okay, so it is going to be a little bit easier if I show you this client component Next.js. There you go. Okay, so if you see this image, let's assume that we have a page like acme.com, right? So for example, on this page, we have a lot of stuff that is going on. Like for example, we have a navbar, we have a sidebar, we have a main content, and we have buttons, right? For example, all the information that we're fetching from the server, like for the information like the images, like profile pictures, like text, like paragraph, like titles or things like that, we're actually pulling them from the server, right? Always we pull all that information from the server. And imagine that server can be your database, it can be maybe Firebase, it can be AWS, it can be Azure, whatever you are using as a data provider or as your content provider. We're fetching that from the internet. And when we want to do actions with the client side is your phone, is your laptop, is maybe a tablet or whatever, but it is something that interacts with the user for executing something. For example, if we have a search button, when we click in that search button, it runs something when we click inside of it, when we click in it, right? Like for example, executing a function or updating a state or doing something, right? Maybe letting that our user changes the page that it is to another page, right? So all those components that interact or all those buttons that interact with the user are called client components. They are called client components because they interact with the user. and they need to run a specific JavaScript code to interact with the user and to run to execute things on the local computer or on the local browser of the user. But for example, if we try to use maybe a console.log, I'm sorry, maybe a function that is only available on the computer of our user, or only makes sense if we use it on on our local computer of the user. And if we try to do that on the server, our server is going to trip a lot and is going to say, "Are you crazy? Are you mad? What do you mean with maybe use state? What do you mean with use effect? Or what do you mean with this or with that? I don't know what does that is." But if we do it on the computer of the user, it is going to be super chill. The computer is going to say, "Hey, don't worry about it. I got this. I know what you mean. What do you mean with that? You want me to click into this, and when you click into this, doing something, I got you. I cover you." But if you want to do it on the server side, the server is going to get mad. Is going to get super mad. Is going to say, "You're tripping. Like, man, you don't know what you're talking about." So pretty much those are the main difference between server-side components and client components. Client components interact with users, and server components interact with the server. Usually we just use server components for fetching data and for managing data that is on the server in the client user, in the client side, just for rendering and fetching data, right? For retrieving data from the database, for example, or retrieving data from the server. And we use client components for actually interacting with the client, like the bottom thing, right? Let me know if that was clear, or if you have more questions about it, so I can help you with that. If so, we are going to cover that on the next session, so don't worry about it. You shouldn't be uh, having any problems with that. Alright, so let's just continue with that. So is version necessary for Next.js, or can Next.js run elsewhere as well? Yeah, and Next.js can run on EC2 on Amazon or on AWS. It can run on an Azure app. How's it called? App service, I think, on an Azure app service, or whatever you want on your own VPS maybe. A VPS is just like your own private cloud, you know? So yeah, it can run anywhere, whenever you want to use it. Vercel is just a deployment site that allows you to deploy like super easily whatever page, not only from Next.js, but also from Angular, from React, from Vite, from any framework that you want, or library, or run dependency. So fellas, we have just 2 minutes left. So I want to thank you a lot for being here again. Thank you so much for being here with me. Unfortunately, we run out of time, but we learned JSX. We learned how to use HTML, JavaScript. We learned the basics of React. We learned what a component is. We learned also some basics about Next.js. Also, we learned project structure. We learned a lot of things. Next session, we're going to continue with this. We can understand a little bit more about the botting system that we're going to be creating. So pretty much we're going to be doing that. We are going to make a lot of better, maybe the UI of our page. So I'll be seeing you there. Please don't forget to register on the link that is on Discord, so you can earn all your points from this Global Hack Week. So yeah, we also learned about Long Johnson rivalry with Doge. So yeah, pretty much. Thank you so much for being here, Shimari Industrialist, Ridweek, AF4 creator, Prafa. Thank you so much for everyone. Good night, good morning, like whatever is the time, and I'll be seeing you later. Thank you so much. So see ya. Bye.